Hello, everybody, and welcome to Keeping It Spiritually Simple with Sandra. And today, my guest is Mr. Alexander Quinn. How are you doing today, Alexander?
I am extremely good. I'm extremely
Awesome.
good. That was a very good intro.
So it's my understanding at about 10 years ago, you were moseying along and had an accident that left you very awakened into the realms of beyond the beyond. And I am sure that must have felt strange, but yet familiar because you dove in even deeper. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you and how it led you to the now moment?
I certainly can. It's important to bear in mind that there's a lot of like psychic people in my family. My great grandmother was one of the few survivors of the Titanic. So she got off an island because she knew that it was going to sink, and everyone thought she was crazy. I had a mother that was psychic. You know, my uncle is a full-time tarot card reader. So these things really run in the family, but I never adhered to or switched it on or dealt with my psychic side or anything, and it runs on my mother's side of the family. And my whole life, I knew I had something going on somewhere, but I was busy. I was a singer songwriter in Nashville. I had a publishing deal in Nashville, and I was writing with John Bon Jovi's writer and going out to gigs with Mindy McCready, and she was living with me in my hotel room and doing all kinds of stuff. And I was kind of living the wild west music industry, kind of a lifestyle in Nashville. And then I had this terrible accident. I woke up in Vanderbilt Hospital. Things were never the same. You know, started having ET experiences and things happening and all the rest of it, and Claire abilities switching on and kicking on and all that kind of stuff. And I would say that was 50% of the things kicking on and starting on. But I would say the other 50% is when I came here to Glastonbury, and I went up to the tour not long after that. And I went up one person and came down another, and I've never been the same two people after those same two experiences. I had just those two incredible awakenings, and the energies are so high at the moment. We've got a KP index of 6. We're getting the borealis northern lights showing up in places that we don't normally get. And I'll be going up to the Glastonbury tour, the epicenter of the heart chakra of Earth, every morning before doing my work in my hotel room, and grounding energies. And so it's been a I would say those two pinnacle points that kicked it off. And then after waking up in the hospital, I was somehow magically drawn to Cynthia Howard, who was an Anunnaki Zeta hybrid born in an underground facility, you know, one of those secret ones in America. She was a test tube baby. So they took human DNA and Anunnaki Zeta DNA and sliced it together, and she became my first mentor. So, you know, real life ETs are on planet Earth. They exist. We just don't often see them. We see hybrids and stuff, but she was a more than a hybrid. I mean, I used to speak to her and see her eyes change into slits and stars and stuff. And I actually have seen real ETs. You know, she was one. And
Wow.
that's how my journey started. Now I've got a book. I'm sat here as we speak, putting the final consideration on the book that's coming out for Dolores Cannon's publisher, Ozark Mountain. That'll be out for Christmas. And obviously I specialize in Ascension. I articulate eloquently. Ascension is my thing. I love Ascension. I love the energies. Why are we ascending? Why are the energies coming in? Why are we going crystalline? Why are we going from Homo sapien to Homo luminous? How is it happening? Who, where, why? You know, all these details that people forget to talk about, miss. And of course, they're all interlinked, intertwined, entangled. And this is what I love talking about, connecting the dots. How it all, you know, this is not an accident that we're here. It's not an accident that we're talking.
Right.
So that's what I love doing. that's why I love talking about the shift. As some people very, as a sweeping generalization, people love to say going from 3D to 5D, but really it's just a remembrance of us becoming multidimensional and going back to who we really were.
Well, Ascension is your thing. I mean, obviously, you knew a lot more about it than many people did a decade ago. I mean, for someone like myself who came in knowing that things were not quite what they seemed, and getting information that didn't seem relevant, but was relevant, but unable to speak it and share it. For me, I mean, I didn't know the word ascension really until just even a few years ago when people started talking about it more and more. So I think you were on the woo woo wah wah light train before many of us were in understanding what ascension is. Could you describe a little bit about that to our viewers?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people who started way before me, but a lot of people getting the ascension symptoms and everything happening now. I started that at the end of 2011, going into 2012. So a lot of those changes and things happen way back when. I mean, I still feel the energy is coming in and all the rest of it, but so I feel really grateful that I could do the changes in a much slower way. Whereas a lot of people now are kind of like, it's like getting in a Ferrari, an Ascension Ferrari, your V12 La Ferrari, and putting your foot down and like being hurled back at like 10G.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are getting a spiritual awakening with like a morning, like smell the coffee, like in your face, kind of a fast track. I'm really glad that I could do it more slowly from 2012 and integrate all the energies physically and mentally and from there. But some people are. A friend of mine, his aunt had a very high up job in London doing public relations for an advertising agency, and she was earning about $250,000 a year in a really good role in London, and she had like almost an overnight awakening, and they had to section her for a week. So people are going through all manner of different speeds.
Yeah.
The 2012 really until 2019 was more of an encoding time to get us up to where we are now. Now we're getting the really fast energies coming in encoding. Our bodies would just disintegrate. We'd all go crazy if it happened that quick. So it had to. The harmonic convergence came around in 1987. That was getting the energy of the earth ready for us. And then if we crossed the marker in 2012, then we would then start getting ready for the energies that Gaia was then ascending to, the other way around. So right now we've got a lot of helps. We're doing the work ourselves. We're also grounding the work down into Gaia, but we've got a lot of external help from the great central sun and from Alcyon and all these other things. It's changing our sun. And when we get changes in sun activity, we get changes in consciousness throughout Earth history. And there was a time, I think in the third or fourth extinction, when the solar activities were actually so strong, it did actually create a very fast ascension, but then there was an extinction event because the radiation was too much and actually wiped us out. So we had Lemuria, we had Atlantis about twice, we had that solar radiation one, and now we're on, I think, had we had the extinction event, it would have been the sixth one. We didn't have it, so we're on the fifth evolution. How wonderful is that? So we're still here. We're getting our external help from our ET friends. And all that junk DNA, the 95% plus, which is encoded from something like 20 or 22 other aliens, ET species or family, is starting to switch on. Some of whom who know who we are, look at our DNA and see us as royalty.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are a genetic and energetic experience. We are the only planetary beings in this galaxy and in some parts of the universe. Some people say the universe, where we are going through this fast track ascension while still being in the same body, taking our body into 5D without having to go through the life death cycle. So all eyes are on us, Sandra, at this moment in time.
Yeah, and I think, with this life and death thing, we're going through it energetically, and some of us very rapid and some of us a little slower. For me, I know, I've been doing this work for decades, and just even in the last year, being hit with so much information that will come through that I literally have to disconnect from other people and find myself in a more of a solo act or an isolated act, because what I'm giving out being of service, I require more downtime, and this whole thing with since March 2020, when we were given permission to be in our homes, so to speak, it was a wonderful time to learn to communicate better. So, what advice would you give people that are getting hit super hard that might not have had much of an idea of what was occurring prior to just the last few years?
Well, I'll start with myself, because everybody's so different. But firstly, just the knowledge, just the knowing that you're not going crazy and that you're having these symptoms and that there is a reason for it is a really helpful one. I mean, I drink a lot of water and I eat light. I'm a pescatarian. A lot of people in the spiritual community say, "Oh God, that's awful. Why aren't you vegan?" Well, I tried being vegan and I got very ill, because there are certain things in my body actually needs. So I'm at a happy balance being pescatarian, which is fish and vegetables and very low dairy. So I to make up for it for my blood type, I take vitamin B complex, and when the Ascension energies are very, very high, I actually take magnesium, which helps. And I ground a lot. So I sit on my tailbone and imagine my root chakra getting very, very big, the meridian in my body, and then I send roots way, way down into Gaia and root down and bring golden Gaia light energy back up into me, because all these big energies are coming down, but that we have to encode them through down into us, through into Gaia.
Yes.
Because that's part of how she's ascending as well. So I would say keep grounded. Nice grounding stones. Listen to root chakra music. I mean, transcend, do your shadow work. I mean, God, there's so much to do and think about. But for a lot of people, just knowing that, they're not going crazy and that, they're having heart palpitations or feeling dizzy or gurning like this.
Yeah.
When the energies are very high, and having past life memories and not being able to sleep, feeling tired and feeling a bit dizzy and feeling a bit spaced out as more soul fractals come out and the energies increase, and we're getting CMEs and coronal activity, and the KP index goes up. I mean, today it's 6. I'm sat here working on the last remnants of this book before it hits the world, and I'm feeling a bit out there myself. So I'm going to go up to the tour, the Glastonbury tour, which is a 900-year-old monastery, very, very famous here in Glastonbury town. Not the festival, but the town, one of the most spiritual towns in the British Isles, certainly that I'm aware of. There might be some other places. And I had a message 3 days ago saying, you got to get out of London. The energy is going to be crazy. So I left London and I came here, and I've been sat in this hotel room for 3-4 days, just sorting out the last bits of the book and grounding and coming into my being, grounding and balancing and keeping a good diet and just keeping my thoughts together. Right now we're in a period where we don't get the choice whether or not we're going to do the shadow work or more anymore now. That time is gone. It's just going to start coming up akashically, because it has to, because we can't carry our baggage into 5D, and we also can't go into 5D bringing 3D with us, and we also can't go into 5D hoping that it's still going to look like 3D. So all these things are trapped in our light body and the meridians of our physical body as well. And we've got to get them out. And if you haven't got them out by now, they're just going to start coming out. So you're going to have, the most, like some of the lower chakras or some of the trauma, trauma and roots, we're doing shadow work off is more often not in our lower meridians of our bodies. And it's the most obnoxious stuff to have to deal with because it's not fun.
Right.
Spiritual people don't want to do something that's not fun because they want to do spiritual stuff. So right now, everyone's, feeling so hard not to be triggered, and they're feeling tired and irritable, and their shadows coming to the surface, and it's hard work. Well, guess what? Hard work brings great things.
Yes.
So if you want to have a spiritual experience and just be out of your body all the time, then then leave the earth plane and die and then come back. But we're going to take our body into 5D with us. And we have to feel these things in our body. So it's okay to feel pissed off and distressed and depressed and angry, because all these emotions have to come up to the surface. We can't just be all love and light all the time. So we're navigating the duality of all of this stuff as we go up in the vibration, because it's dredging everything, all the gunk and all the dirt and all the debris that has to come up with it. So, when I meet people at a party, they go, oh God, I've been so depressed recently. It's been so hard. I say, fantastic. Excellent. You're doing your shadow work. You need to, the emotions are a roadmap for us to go through to understand what we're feeling, what needs to be dealt with as we're going up through the vibrations. If you go to a party and you say, God, I was so depressed last week, go, oh God, I can't do it. Oh God, that's it. It's because they're not in touch with their soul and their, what their own human. This is a human experience we are going through. We came down here to be human in a human body, bring the energies down through a human body into Gaia. Yes, we need to be opening our third eye and bouncing all the other chakras and all the rest of it and opening all the. But I would say, don't forget to be human.
Well, I think
don't be too hard on yourself.
Yes, I agree with you. And human is really the experience most people have avoided. We've been taught to go up and out. We've been taught to ignore. We've been taught to suppress. We've been taught what's not acceptable. And our emotional body has suffered terribly. It's now at this point where it's screaming, hey, you, listen to me. This is what I have to say. And if you don't go into all of that, you're going to get to the point where you will implode. So finding spiritual healers and people that can guide you to just release some of that and know that you're okay in the moment that you're okay. Stop, drop, breathe, eat for what's best for you. Don't listen to what everyone else is saying. I love what you were saying about, fish and vegetables. That works for you. Chicken, vegetables, fish work for me. I used to eat red meat, but about a couple of years ago, just the taste of it completely changed. And I tried so many different ways to fix it differently. And each time it was like, okay, that's just not working with my DNA, and I have to accept that. But the emotional stuff is what is most interesting that people are going through. I mean, for what you were saying about the tailbone, 2 years ago, I just started going and sitting on the ground and just rocking my tailbone on the ground, just not even knowing what I was doing. It just felt innate, almost as if I was giving birth to the ground and allowing the ground to come up and birth through me, not hearing what anybody else was saying about it. It was just this, I literally was digging my tailbone into the ground, hoping that no one was watching me outside. But we have to do what naturally comes to us and to trust that and not to listen to that point of, oh gosh, am I going to be accepted for this nonsense and this craziness? But really what you're doing is you're shedding things that no longer serve you in order to upboot new information, So
yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah, and how have you been doing with symptoms and things? Have you been feeling things, or have you been coasting?
Yeah, I honestly think that it's finally taken me this many decades to realize that my body is my information highway, that my feeling is what gives me information and filters the information. So
It's
for
very
me,
interesting you say that.
yeah, many peaks and valleys. But I was taught that, my mom used to always say, don't do what you feel like, do what you're supposed to do. So you always overrode your feelings. But in this many decades, I've learned that, people talk about being empathic. Learn and understand what being empathic is and learn how to hone that in and make it a skill, because that is really your first line of information to everything that's happening to you everywhere, including your light body family that's trying to talk to you as well. I have definitely gone through some serious, inner temper tantrums where I have just wanted to just take a pin and just pop all this insanity. But I know innately that this is for my highest good and I must go through it. So how do I keep myself so that I can still be sane and function in my world? One, get into my salt bath. Even if I'm tired, make myself get in there. Drink a little extra water, maybe up my caloric intake in certain areas of fruits or vegetables and decrease others. And then supplements. I'm big on the supplements and what we need, but I'm also really big on blessing everything for its highest good, whether it's a thought, whether it's an intake through the mouth, whether it's something coming out, that it can be blessed in that moment for the highest good of myself, but for all that are around me. And you brought up something about going to parties, and I mean, people are just complaining about everything left and right. And some people are natural complainers, and you have to just understand that people have to go through what they're going through in order to accept themselves. And sometimes we just have to detach and just be like, hey, okay, so what? Go into that, be in that. Don't categorize it or brand it into something. Just be with it. See if you can work through it and let it go.
Yeah, well, I'd really love to enhance what you just said. The Akash is coming to the surface. Now, what does that look like? Well, I'm going to tell you what it looks like. Our brains process like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like linear, like that. When the Akash is coming up to the surface in these super high energies, which are coming in and just hitting us all the time now, the brain and doesn't read it as 1, 2, 3, is going to come up as conceptual emotional responses. So sometimes we have to, this is why we have to go into our heart center. And it's not a question of trying to diagnose like a mathematician, like what we're feeling. We've got to feel it in the heart center. And there's a lot of stuff going to be coming from this lifetime, past lifetime, good and bad stuff we've done. And we have to allow it to come up and out without trying to attach to it in a linear way what it means. Oh my God, well, what is this awful thing coming up? What does this mean? Does this mean I've done something? Does this mean I've done something in linear time? Is this my fault? Attaching shame and fault and all these, lower density feelings and images, things that we're having from our childhood coming to the surface. We have to just allow it to come up to the surface, like this garlic thing, right? Like, what you want to do is just let the garlic fall out, but instead of your hand here being the filter, that's your brain, your ego trying to attach like what it means and what it's doing and images and this is my childhood and all this kind of stuff, blah 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 blah. The filter of your brain, unless you're an Akashic reader, is really not, is going to mess up Akashically what is trying to come up to the surface just to get out without you painting a color on it or as black and white or a number or is this. It's going to confuse you, and the ego is going to send people crazy in these higher energies. So allow the emotional content that is coming up, conceptual emotions as the Akashic, as the Akash rises through you, just to come up and let it be whatever it wants to be without you putting a name on it or a date or a something, or because it's going to come out anyway. So people are doing shadow work whether they like it or not at the moment, and that's what people are going to get very, very triggered by. Again, the same for internal, same as above, same as below, same for internal, same as out. No, don't like, if you're looking at something, don't get triggered by it because there's this or that person or a family member gets so triggered, because right now you just got to let it all just flow through you, because it has to come out. So
Yes. And a lot of people are getting them through their dream states, and they'll talk to me about their dreams and trying to figure it all out. And I'll say, just let it go. Let it go, just bless it, let it go, and just ask spirit, your higher self, if there's more information you want me to do on this topic, or what didn't make sense to me, please bring that forth. But in the meantime, don't walk around all day long in this mind chatter of, oh, I had this weird dream, I just can't figure it out, because you're missing the present moment of now and being fully conscious of all that is occurring and why it's occurring. So it's an avoidance.
Yeah, well, that's what spiritual bypassing is. People don't want to work to it. Do you know a lot of people that work and play in the spiritual community are often the ones that have problems with their root chakra or their sacral chakra, or sexual trauma, or they didn't have their needs met in life by people, places, or things. So because the physical world didn't work out for them, well, hell, let's go into the non-physical world. Maybe that'll be more fun.
Mm-hmm.
So then they go into the non-physical world, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then they get stuck there and negate all the stuff that needs to be sorted out in order to actually ascend to where they've got to and beyond. So that is what this shadow work that's coming up as conceptual emotions coming up is now forcing people to do that.
Yeah, and it's not fun, but it doesn't have to be as dreaded as you think it is. So, when you look at a closet or the corner of your desk or a pile of laundry and you just dread it and you ignore it. But once you get started on it and begin to categorize things by, okay, step 1, step 2, I'm going to get into this, I'm going to do this work. When you're all done, you sit down, you're like, oh my gosh, that the worst part was the dreading of it, the bringing it up, the facing it. Once you faced it, the easier part was, okay, let me at least get my first couple feet in here, and get things moving. And it feels so good. But in this day and age with what's going on, then the next step comes, and then the next step comes. And there's a point in time, I sometimes feel like I wish I could go back to not knowing anything, because I would be like, this is a lot of work, but it's work that I came here dedicated to do. So it's my mission. So I get healing sessions on myself all the time, not just do I give them. And, I'm on this mission to just release all things that I brought in with me from all lifetimes, to let them come to the surface and come out and be blessed. Forgiveness, I love you, go, and bring in all the newness. 2017, I literally was driving one day to a healing session, and something came over me that said, cancel, alt delete all your cookies, your trash bin, everything, anything that's been taught to you in this lifetime, just let it go. And it resonated so well with me that I literally was like, okay, no problem. And then I went to my session and she said, so what's that going to do for you? And I said, well, it's going to bring in more room for new information. And then the next day I couldn't find my car keys. And so I said, hold on a second, don't take it that far, but literally all the information that I hear now is all new information, and I'm processing it like it's new information, even though some of it resonates like I've known it all along.
Yeah. I mean, do you know there's a reason why Starseeds and Lightworkers hate doing shadow work and dealing with all this trauma and coming up? You know why?
Answer, please. Why?
It's actually mostly got nothing to do with this lifetime. The new souls who are coming in, some of them who've not been here long, maybe 1 lifetime, maybe 2 lifetimes, maybe this is their first time being here. They come in, most of the younger souls, and they're just like, yeah, cool, all right, deal with it, no problem. It's the old soul It's the old souls that have been here a long time. They're like, oh my God, here we go again. It's going to be more old energy. It's going to be more drudgery. It's going to be more pushing the boulder up the hill. It's going to be hard work again, because akashically, that's all that they understand. And it's coming up as conceptual, emotional feeling. This is what they're instantly feeling. But going forward into the higher energies, it's not going to be like that this time or going forward, because the time fractals have been set. So we're running on Ascension 2012 now, not Ascension 2000 BC.
Right.
So Starseeds dread doing any kind of work because in an old energy, the outcome was always the same. So why should I bother doing it? But in the new energy, it's going to be completely different. The outcome is going to be completely different. It's going to be rewarding. It's good there. You're going to get pleasure. You're going to get reward from it. But Starseeds are still stuck in an old energy, so they dread doing it. That's why shadow work is so important, because it forces you to bring it to the surface, so you get a jolt coming into the energy.
So do you think the old souls are suffering from really the post-traumatic stress syndrome of other lifetimes that just don't have the reward? It's just the work that is the pain and the suffering through that. And this time it's going to be like, wow.
Yeah, you could say that. Well, this is the payoff lifetime. This is the lifetime, especially for the old soul, that they've been waiting for. But they've got to get out the mentality that it's just going to be more of the same. It's not this time. The wind is in your sails this time.
Very nice to hear. Nice to hear. So, for me, I don't get, I get a lot of messages through Yeshua, Yeshua, Jesus, as well as they're all the same person, my higher self, and one of my head of my council. But I don't get all the information regarding CMEs and what the sun's doing and solar things and wars in the ethers of the cosmos. And I don't fight to learn those things, because those are what other people are here to do. I just accept the fact that I get my messages the way I do, and I go by how I feel. I later get confirmation by listening to, say, one of your YouTubes or someone else that something's going on. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense on why I'm feeling the way I feel. So moving forward, is there anything else that you can suggest for those people that maybe are just not wanting to move forward into this letting things go shadow into greater awareness and more happiness, reward?
Yes, absolutely. Pick up a copy of my book. It comes out at Christmas. It's $14.99 on Dolores Cannon's publisher, Ozark Mountain. The link will be below.
Very good.
No, on a serious note, you can get a copy of my book, but things that you can do for yourself right now. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just recommend just knowing what's going on. Now, there's a lot of starseeds, a lot of light workers, a lot of spiritual people out there saying, you can't look at this and you can't read this, and that person's not doing it right. This person's too spiritual and this person's not spiritual enough, and whatever. You have to let yourself resonate with whatever information is coming to you at that moment in time, because that's what you need. And actually, I say to people all the time, you don't need my book, you don't need my YouTube channel, you don't need any of this stuff, because all the answers are actually inside you when you learn how to listen to your higher self and bring the answer through and trust yourself. But we're all learning how to do that, and it's going to take a bit of a longer while to get there. But I would say, that little, when people go to a pop quiz or a quiz, like a pub quiz, or people say, do you know the answer to this question? And then they doubt themselves. Oh God, I knew the answer to that question. Why didn't I trust myself? People go through a lifetime walking like that. Spend more time listening to your intuition and having more of a relationship with your body, what it wants to eat, what it doesn't want to eat through these energies. I'm at a place now where I can walk up to the supermarket shelf and I can put my hand over something and my body will now tell me what it needs and what it doesn't need before my brain even tells me.
Mm-hmm.
My body talks to me. I have a relationship with my body now that I didn't used to have before. So listen to your body and your intuition and what you're going through, and just be allowing of everything that's coming in. And if you find it information you like, run with it, and don't let anyone tell you, oh, you can't listen to that person, or you can't, whatever, because for whatever reason, if you're listening to that person, is whatever you need in that moment of time.
Well, I think intuition is the new brain people need to follow. We've been so taught to override all of that, and we're at the point now where we can't. And especially those who have, that empathic ability to be in touch and to trust what's coming through. I can't override it. I live my life by it every day, all day. And I work with my groups of people to do the same, is just to learn to trust, That's very important. I agree. Well, Alexander, it has been a pleasure to have you on today. Is there anything else that you would like to leave with our audience? I'm going to put your links below, but what's the best way to get in touch with you? People want a session. And for those of you who don't know, Alexander does an amazing session with his cards. But my favorite part was actually having the intro on Zoom like this, and then letting you work your magic, and then sending it later when I was in the right space where I could literally sit and just, listen through the words of what you had sent through. It's an amazing session. Thank you.
Oh, it's very kind of you. I'm currently not doing anything for another month, just until I get this edit back off to Ozark, but the final edit. But yeah, just check me out on YouTube, Alexander Quinn Starseed, and the message I got is KISS. Keep it spiritually simple, as it says right behind you.
Very good, very good. Well, Alexander, you go enjoy your day. Thank you so much. We look forward to reading your book when it comes out. And thank you, everyone, for watching.